Hi, and welcome to the section 1 of our course, Securing Your Network. A network perimeter is the first outlayer cybercriminals use to penetrate your digital assets. They use many tricks and ways to do that. What can we do to counter them? That's what this section is about. You know the elements your defense must consist of, and how to detect and prevent even most cunning attacks. In the first video of the course, we'll talk about firewalls. Of course, it's wide and rather complex topic. But if you catch the essential principles and base of what firewalls are and why we must use them, you'll be able easy to succeed in further study. So, what a firewall do? It defends us from hostile intrusion. The best way to understand the essence of firewall is to consider it as a home or office guard who checks credentials and decides who can be let in or let out. In this picture you can see how a firewall defends us from unwanted traffic. If we don't have a firewall, anybody can easily penetrate our network or host and take or do everything he wants. How firewall know who is allowed to pass and who is not? You must tell this information. How? By so-called firewall rules that you should create and pass to your firewall to follow. Firewall rules define what a firewall should do, allow the connection or deny the connection. Here you can see an example of firewall rules. Let's look at them closely. The first one allows traffic by IP protocol from any source to the host with this IP address using port 80. This one allows connection by IP protocol from any source to the host with this IP address through port 443, and as we can see, any traffic through port 53 is denied here. Okay, now let's see how firewalls work in the real world. First, let's go to the Windows firewall. For that purpose, in the search tab, we type firewall, and here you can see Windows Defender Firewall. Let's click on it. Here it is. Windows Firewall has many default settings, and you can see them right here. And here is the default rules for private network and guest or public network. If we click here on Allow an app or feature through Windows Defender Firewall, we can see the tab with applications on our computer. As you can see, some of them have the same permissions for both types of the networks, private and public, and the others have permission only for one network, and some not any permissions at all. But what is really interesting, it's advanced settings. Let's click on it. Yes. And here you can have a possibility to look under the hood of the firewall. Here on the left side, we can see inbound rules and outbound rules. Inbound rules relates to the traffic that comes to our computer from outside, and correspondingly outbound rules, that's the traffic that comes out from our computer. Here you can find the firewall rules for different types of applications, and what is most interesting, you can create your own rule. Let's try to do that. Let's click on this icon, and here we can choose the item we want to create the rules. Let's choose port. Click next. Now let's choose will be TCP or UDP and specific local ports. For example, I choose TCP traffic and ports number 22. Click in next. And here we can choose what to do with traffic. Allow the connection if it's secure, or block the connection through this port. For example, I choose to block the connection. Then I click next, and here I can choose when does this rule apply. Does this rule apply to a domain, when a computer is connecting to a private network location, and if a computer is connected to a public network location? If I choose all three of them and click next, any traffic to my computer via port 22 will be denied. Also, you can have a look at outbound rules. They are managed exactly the same way as inbound rules. Now let's jump to another example. This time we'll have a look at how to manage Linux firewall. For that purpose I'll use Ubuntu virtual machine. Ubuntu has a very nice a graphical user interface to manage the firewall. It's so easy, let's even code uncomplicated firewall. It's not installed by default, so let's go and install it. Well, the easiest way to do it is to click on Ubuntu Software Center. Let's type Firewall and let's choose this one, Firewall Configuration. Let's click on it, install it. Okay, great, it's ready. Let's open it. Type the password, authenticate, and here you can see how it works. Let's turn it on. Now it's working and defend our computer. As you can see, we've got 3 profiles here: public, officer, home. Also, we can write our own rules. Let's click here. By clicking on plus, we can create a new rule for an application. Let's, for example, choose BitTorrent, click Add, and here you are. We've created the rules for BitTorrent program. Here it allows it everything on TCP and UDP track. Correspondingly, if we want to delete the rule, we click on minus and the rules disappear. The main idea that firewalls can have different interfaces, can be managed by graphical user interface or through command line, but the basic principles of firewall working still the same. As we've just seen, as for guard, his task is to differ good guys from bad guys. The task of a firewall is to divide friends from enemies. But can the bad guys deceive a guard? Unfortunately, they certainly can. There are a lot of tricks how a hacker can bypass a firewall. Actually, a refined hacker can find a breach like this one you see on the screen now in any firewall. That's why we say a firewall is absolutely necessary, but obviously not enough. If you want to really harden your network security, you need to take other protecting steps. Next of these steps is using IDS-IPS, intrusion detection and intrusion prevention systems. We'll talk about them in details in the next video.